Welcome back to Build Better. I'm Matt. I didn't start at the top. I started on job sites. I worked my way through all of the roles. I learned this business literally from the inside out. I'm not the guy in the dirt anymore, but I've been there and I will never forget what it takes to get things done and to get them done right. This show is for the builders, the owners, the developers, and most importantly, the blue collar badasses who keep projects moving when it actually matters. Real conversations, real lessons, and the standard it takes to build better in the field, the office, and in life. So let's get started. Guys, today we're going to talk about the Epstein files. Just kidding. Today we're going to talk about something that is not quite equally as uncomfortable as that, but it's up there in the field of business. It's a topic called acclimation. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Okay, most standards, they don't disappear overnight. They erode very, very quietly, almost imperceptibly slow. It's not because people stop caring. It's not because ownership stops giving a shit about where the business is going, where the team's heading. It's because all of the above, the team in general, they start getting used to things that previously they never would have accepted in the first place. Bad behavior becomes normal. Excuses start sounding kind of reasonable. Temporary problems become not so temporary until they become permanent. And all of this adds up until one day you're looking around at your business and you realize, while nothing is technically broken, nothing feels right anymore either. Today, we're going to talk about how that really happens, because the process has a name, like I said, and it's called acclimation. I don't know the dictionary definition of the word acclimation. You can go look it up just as easily as I could. But here's what it means to me. Acclimation is a process whereby you get used to things, whereby you become comfortable with the way things are. We've already talked before about how much of a pet peeve the word comfort is, and how getting comfortable in business is really potentially the kiss of death. Now, there are times in life, there's aspects in what we do where acclimation and getting comfortable is a good thing. Let's say you're starting a cold plunge routine or a sauna routine or both. You don't want to be deathly uncomfortable for the entire time you're sitting in a cold plunge. You'll never do it again. And what happens typically in a cold plunge, and I can tell you this from experience, is the first 15 seconds, 30 seconds, it depends on the person, but the first little bit amount of time, you freak the fuck out, man. Your body goes into shock. Your brain literally thinks you're dying. It thinks, what am I going to do to save this body that I'm in charge of saving? Because this body is going down fast. It is circling the drain. But you stay with it. You stay in the tub, in the cold plunge, the ice bath, whatever you're using, and you cross this little threshold. As your body begins to acclimate, your brain begins to recognize, holy shit, I'm still breathing. I'm still conscious. Maybe there isn't an imminent threat of death. And the more this happens and the longer this goes on, the more you acclimate until you reach a point, with me, it's about a minute in, where the damn thing actually feels kind of nice. I wouldn't say it's comfortable yet, but it feels nice. It's not a terrible thing anymore. Same with the sauna, right? When you get in the sauna and it's 145, 150 degrees, it's pretty damn hot and you're sweating bullets. But when you start breathing, you acclimate to it. Doesn't mean you're not still hot. Doesn't mean you're not still sweating. It means you're not horribly, horribly uncomfortable. Now, those are real life examples that I participate in on a weekly basis at the very least. Those are good forms of acclimation. We're talking about in business, where acclimation, again, can be the kiss of death. Bad behavior, slow responses, excuses, all of the bullshit that you shouldn't have in your business, it starts to be not so bad if you let it. You start to get comfortable with these results. Again, it's quietly eroding. Standards are slipping. But the longer you let this happen, the more you are going to acclimate to it. The more this is going to feel normal. The more this is going to feel comfortable. And that's a big problem. It's also a huge problem because once it starts feeling comfortable for you as the owner or as the leader, whether that's the owner of a business, the foreman on the site, the superintendent on a project, it doesn't matter. When it starts being comfortable for you, when the bad shit starts to become normal, when you start to acclimate to all the things that you really shouldn't be, your team sees it. And guess what? They start to acclimate to it also. And pretty soon, those idyllic standards and those values that you set up in the beginning, when you first started your business and you were bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and ready to go kick ass every day, those are gone. And your new standards are being replaced with shit. Because the more you tolerate it, the more you accept it, the more it becomes normal, and the farther you let the garbage normalize, the closer to your standards those become until they are your standards. We've all seen it a million times in business, and it doesn't have to be construction. Everything I talk about is typically related to construction because that's where I'm at. That's what I know the best. But in business in general, it's the sayings like, okay, we know X is wrong. This is bad. This is not functioning right. But we got to keep going. We got to finish this project. We'll fix whatever this is after this project's done. We'll handle it before the next one starts. Or you're working with a complete asshole. It's happened to me. It's happened to all of us, I'd guess, in the construction space. But you're working with an asshole and he's treating your team like garbage. And you let it happen. And you don't step in. You don't protect those that are counting on you to protect them, both with their livelihoods and their well-being in general, both mental and physical. And you explain it as, guys, this is just how he is. He's just an asshole. All we got to do is get through this one project. We got to get past this one client. The next one will be better. We'll be more careful next time to pick a client that we really want to work with. Or how about this one? Okay, once we make this metric, this milestone, this thing, whatever it may be, then we're going to stop this certain behavior. This certain behavior that we all know today is not serving us well. It's creating more chaos. It's not helping the business. It's not helping the team. It's not helping the clients or the project. We're going to hit this milestone and then we'll change this metric or this behavior rather. We'll hit the metric, we'll change the behavior. Well, what happens? Leaders that start to normalize dysfunction. They do this to avoid friction and to preserve mental bandwidth. It's not because your boss or the owner or your foreman, your superintendent is a complete idiot and an asshole. I mean, maybe they are. And if that's the case, that's a different topic or a different episode. But by and large, what's likely happening is they're trying to preserve their own head so they can continue about their day doing what they're really supposed to do. Because the thing with standards and the thing with acclimation is you expect the standards just to happen, right? You expect people to operate at a certain level, doing their tasks to a certain degree. Well, if you allow acclimation to take place and you start getting used to performance that's subpar or below average, what you're really doing is opening up the door for mediocrity to creep into your business. Mediocrity is absolutely the kiss of death for any business, for any entrepreneur, for any project that you're working on. If you allow mediocrity to sneak in rather, it's like opening the door to a proverbial cancer in your organization. And now people are seeing that, okay, maybe when I started here at XYZ company, our standards are way up here. Our standards were really top notch, and it was difficult. It was really difficult to compete and to claw our way up to the top and to keep operating at this extremely high level that the ownership or the leader had put in place. But you know what? We did it, and we were kicking ass, and we were winning, and we're getting through, and we're getting on to the next project, and we're winning bigger and bigger and bigger. But then something started to slip. People started getting complacent. People started acclimating to something that happens. Let's put a real quick personal spin on this. And I'll give you a personal example of my own. My oldest son, he's a very headsure young man. and he was down in our gym sometime last year, working out by himself. And of course, as most teenagers do, they record everything on video so they can post the shit on Instagram, so they get their likes and shares and all that shit, their dopamine hits. So he's recording himself lifting, and he'd probably punch me right now if he knew I was saying this, so he'll get to listen if he actually listens to my show. He's downstairs lifting. He's on video. He throws up a bar with way too much weight on it, and bar goes over top of his head. He ends up losing it, loses control. He almost falls over and hurts himself. Luckily, he didn't, but he did drop the bar full of weight, which then ended up inside my fucking wall. Okay, not a big deal. I'm happy my kid's okay. Nothing was really seriously hurt. The wall has a big gaping hole in it, but it's just drywall. And being that we're in the construction space, I know a thing or two about patching holes. But now the funny thing happened, right? We told my wife, obviously. She wasn't real thrilled, but same viewpoint as me. She was happy that he wasn't hurt. We cleaned up the mess, put the weights back in. We talked about how friggin' stupid it was what he was doing. He agreed, blah, blah, blah. We moved on. We didn't fix the hole yet because, I don't know, it was late in the evening, or I had just gotten home from work or something, and I just wasn't in the mood to jumping into it right then. So I probably said something along the lines of, all right, bud, come Saturday, come Friday afternoon, we're going to do this. I'll teach you how to patch a drywall hole. Be a great bonding experience, great learning experience, father-son shit, right? Okay, so we have the best intentions. So fast forward to the weekend. Shit happens, things come up, we get busy. The hole doesn't get patched. The wall doesn't get fixed. Not a big deal. We'll get to it. Fast forward another week. Next Friday, next Saturday comes, whatever it is. Something comes up, we're busy, mind's somewhere else. Move through the weekend, the hole doesn't get patched, the wall doesn't get fixed. Well, this cycle repeats itself for... It's hard to even admit it, but it probably lasted 2 months, maybe even longer. I don't know. But what happens is the hole didn't go away, right? There's still this, or there was, it's fixed now, I promise. But there was this gaping hole in the wall in our home gym. It was about the size of a basketball, let's say. So it's a big hole. Can't miss it. But you do fucking miss it. Because you walk past it every single day. I walk past it every day on my way into the gym. And the first few days, I would kind of glance at it, scope out the scene, laugh to myself, think, geez, we got lucky. Boy, he got lucky. What a pain in the ass this is. Now we got to fix this thing. I think a lot of things. But as time compounds and the compounding effect of acclimation takes over, I swear to God, man, eventually it got to a point where like, you don't really even see the hole when you walk past it. And so I'd walk into the gym, I'd do my workout, I'd walk back out, I'd go to work, I'd come home, I'd do the same thing, wash, rinse, repeat the next morning. And it got to the point where like I really wasn't even seeing this substantial hole in my wall. And it took probably my wife, harping on it, because admittedly it looked pretty ugly. This is our house, right? There's a hole in the wall. It looks like we're living in squalor. And I don't want to live in a crack house. I don't want to look like we live in a crack house, but that's just the way it is. That's the way the mind works. And you allow busy to take over. You allow all the other things that command your attention to take over, and you acclimate to the situation, to the current reality. And so me walking past this hole in the wall, or anyone else walking past this hole in the wall for that matter, it's not that we were doing it in a malicious way to try and, lower the value of our home or to do anything stupid like that. It's just that we literally didn't even see it anymore. It had become almost normal. And that's a bit of an extreme example. It was a quick transition, quick acclimation. But that's the way it works. You justify these things in your head, and then your brain fights very hard to keep you normal and to keep things where they need to be. Right? We can get all into reticular activating systems and the way your brain works, but there are things going on out of your control, right? And your brain basically is fighting always to keep things normal, to keep things level, to keep things moving in the right direction. And that's one of the ways we do it, is we force acclimation upon ourselves, and you walk past the hole in the wall. Well, if you take this to a job site example, this can have catastrophic implications for everybody, okay? I'll give you one more example of me personally, and this is a business example, not the stupid hole in my wall in my basement in my gym. Um, Scroll back in time 5, 6 years ago, and we were a much different company. I was very much so still kind of handling everything on my own. It was a very stressful time. We were growing, but we were scraping to grow. And I hired my first real superintendent that was actually, I thought, worth a shit. The guy, he'd run projects before for himself. He had his own company, whatever. We won't get into all the details, but I thought it was gonna be great. So we win this job. It was right before COVID or right during COVID. I don't remember. We had this job. We start it. It's a big job for us. It's the biggest job we've had. Huge design build project. A whole lot going for it that meant a lot for me, meant a lot for the company. And I install this superintendent. And very, very soon after we start the project, I started recognizing and noticing certain personality traits that they just rubbed me the wrong way. I didn't like them. They weren't horrible, but if I'm being honest with myself, they really were kind of going against some of our core values. And we talked a little bit in a different episode about how important core values are in culture, and we'll talk more about that at length in future episodes. But basically, there were just things that were happening that I knew were not okay. And it wasn't anything egregious, right? He wasn't like throwing bricks at old ladies walking down the street or slashing tires or nothing huge like that. That would be like an immediate hard stop. They were just small things here and there, attitude things here and there, and I'll be honest, while I saw them, I would kind of sweep them under the rug in the beginning because I didn't have a friggin' choice. If I got rid of him, well, then I'm back in the field, doing everything. I'm managing the project. I'm superintending the project. All the whole sob story. So I keep kind of sweeping it under the rug. I start acclimating to it. I start growing accustomed to the issues that were going on my job site. Well, what do you think happens? Days go by, weeks go by, months go by. And eventually I start hearing chatter from people on the job site, from our subcontractors, from our specialty contractors, our trade partners in the project, design build project. So we all work very closely to get this thing off the ground. We're all working very closely to win, to succeed. I start hearing the chatter, and I start recognizing, holy shit, this is a problem. It's now become such a problem that people outside of my organization are from the outside looking in, going, "What the hell is Vetter doing? Why is this guy here?" And I appreciated the guys that came to me, one in particular, and actually told me straight to my face, like, "Hey, dude, you're really working hard to build this empire, to build this thing into something amazing. And I really don't think this individual is doing you any favors." And he gave me some specific examples. And, long story short, we ended up terminating the individual's employment. We went our separate ways. It sucked. It did some damage that, without some significant damage control by me afterwards, it would have caused irreparable harm to the company, to the team I was building, to the empire that I was building. It cost me a ton of time. It cost me a ton of energy. It cost me a whole shit ton of money. But the biggest cost that it had was on our culture. Our culture had acclimated to the point that no one was recognizing this bad behavior anymore. And if we're being honest, everybody knew about it. Now, we were a small group still at the time, so even less of an excuse. But we all acclimated. We all just kind of let it happen, and we kept moving because we all had that other thought in our head, like, well, if not him, then what do? We don't have another option right now. Well, the truth is, you always have options. We just didn't take them until we did. So I'm telling you this not to rag on the guy, because I think he's a good dude. We've talked a few times since that day that we let him go, and I think he's doing pretty well. I'm telling you because it happens, man. It's realistic. This is real shit. This is building a business. This is my struggle to build better. And this is one of those times when if I hadn't done something drastic like I ended up having to do, the whole ship could have sunk, man. And if that ship sank, it's impossible. It is effing impossible to get it floating again. And you do that because of acclimation. I did it because of acclimation, because comfort feels intuitive, right? You want to be comfortable. Confrontation is, in your mind anyways, it feels like it's going to be expensive. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. But more than likely, you're going to choose harmony over standards. And you do that because no one calls it out. Had my one subcontractor never called it out to me, who knows what would have happened. But you got to have people around you that will call shit out. And so kind of moving forward, there's a lot to be said with who you surround yourself with. The people that you're growing with, the people that know you the best, they might be teammates, they might be employees, they might be subcontractors or vendors, consultants, they might be friends, they might be none of the above. But your circle has a role. Okay, the circle you surround yourself with has a role. And one of their biggest tasks that they will have is to call you out on your bullshit. To call you out when you're not doing what you're supposed to, when you're not holding your own standards, when you're not living up to your own standards, you're not practicing what you preach. You need people around you who are not afraid to tell you, hey, Matt, shit's going wrong here, dude. You need to fix this right now. I have a very, very small circle of people that fit that role with me. I can count them on two hands. But I know those people will call my bluff. They will call my bullshit, and they'll do it every day, all day long. And I'll do the same for them. You need to find those people. And we'll talk more about that in another episode. We'll talk about how difficult it is to find those people. We'll talk a lot about that sort of thing. There's theories on it. You're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. We'll think about that a little bit for now. But here's the thing, guys. Here's what I want to leave you with. Acclimation is a problem. Okay, it's like a disease. It doesn't feel dangerous while it's happening. It goes typically unnoticed. A lot of times it feels practical. It feels reasonable. It feels like, okay, we're just getting through the day. And there are times when, especially as a new, young, green business, there are times when you have to do shit. You gotta accept certain things, let certain things fly, but you gotta know in the back of your head that you're only doing it for a very specific purpose, and you're only doing it for a very short time frame. And then you're gonna handle whatever it is that you know shouldn't be happening. Because every time you tolerate something that violates your standards, you're teaching yourself and you're teaching everyone around you that this is now acceptable. Your standards flip. Good standard drops, bad standard comes up in the air. And if you do that long enough, what do you have left? Not a whole lot. I truly believe that that is how good businesses typically drift into average ones. And again, average ones open up their doors for mediocrity. And once mediocrity sets in, you're as good as dead, man. You are as good as dead in this world. So I'm going to leave you with a question. You got some homework. Here's a question I want you to sit with. I want you to really, truly think about this. What is one thing in your business today that truly, truly pisses you the fuck off? Now think about it. It truly pisses you off, but you tolerate it because you've gotten used to it. You've acclimated to whatever it may be. Think about this long and hard. Okay, and that one thing, you need to recognize this. If it would have bothered you on day one, if it would have bothered you when you were a brand new business owner or brand new in the trades or brand new at whatever it is you do, then what are you doing? You have to change it. You have to fix it. You have to address it, and you have to address it right now. I would bet that every single person listening to this can think of one thing that if they addressed it right now, it's not going to feel good. Okay. Fixing it doesn't feel good. Let's be very clear about that. Fixing it will hurt. It'll hurt mentally. It might hurt physically, depending on what it is. There's a million different examples you can put in this. I'm not going to fill your mind with them. You can come up with your own. Fixing it will never feel good until it's done. But letting it sit, letting it rot, letting it fester, I promise you, in the long run, it will feel much worse. Standards won't enforce themselves, guys. The only person that can enforce your standards is you. Remember that. The only person that can enforce your standards is you. And if you want your team, whoever that team may be, to follow you and to follow your standards, then you damn well better live by them. You damn well better enforce those standards. And you better make sure that everyone in your organization, top to bottom, side to side, employees, vendors, subcontractors, consultants, and most especially yourself, are held to the highest level of accountability for making sure your standards are upheld, making sure your standards are what sets you apart from everybody else. Give that some thought. I'd love to hear your comments. Drop them in the comments below. Drop them on LinkedIn. Guys, if you're helping, excuse me, if you're liking this, do me a solid and share this show around. We're brand new, obviously. We're fighting the algorithms. We're clawing and scratching to get up above water to see if this thing's going to stick. Share the show with one person that you think might get something out of it, might listen to it, and it'll help us immensely. That's all I got for this time. We'll pick it up next time. Take care.